Are you ready for our next special guest? So, without further ado, let's welcome the one, the only, the panda's friend himself with a heart as big as his legacy, Mr. Metta World Peace.
Thank you, Alex. That was incredible. Thank
Have
you.
a seat. Man, Metta, thank you so much, right, for joining us here today at CoCreate, Alibaba.com conference of the year. I'm so excited to have you here. I'm sure like a lot of the folks in the crowd as well. And so let's jump right in. You know, there are a lot of questions that I'm seeing that I love to ask you, and I'm sure a lot of crowd that would love to know. So first of all, you transitioned from your amazing 19 years of career as a professional NBA player, right, in the fast-paced world, and then now you're kind of moving to the business world. So could you briefly walk us through that journey? Because I'm sure, you know, that's a big change, big switch from the professional player for 19 years to a business, you know, in the world. So what was the biggest challenge at that time for you, right, and that you encountered during this period, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, and I just want to say thanks for having me, Alex. You've been a big supporter, and you recognize the passion and the love I have for the Alibaba platform. Never knowing I was going to meet anybody from Alibaba, I just wanted to sell shoes. So I just figured out how to work this product on my own, and I was a little bit fearful, actually, when I first started to use the platform, because it's so many buttons you got to press. And I had no experience in pressing buttons. But I said, you know what, I'm just going to dive into it. And just to answer your question and get into this a little bit, you know, started out obviously playing basketball in 1999. I got drafted. In 1997, I was at LaSalle Academy. And even in 1993, I remember my freshman year in high school, my grades wasn't the best. You know, I failed off the team 13 games, couldn't play. I was at an all-boys Catholic school. And I remember telling myself, well, I want to play basketball, I'm going to have to get my academics right. So my average went from a 60, which is a D, you know, maybe if you're in California's numbers in New York City. And then my senior year, it was a 95 average. You know, so I was picking it up every year to the point where I got a letter from Princeton, and I almost went to Princeton.
Princeton?
Yeah, they said, when I got the letter, because I was more focused on basketball schools.
Right.
But when I got the letter, I was like, wow, it was really, for me, I felt like, wow, you know, this is really special. And I was thinking about doing it, but, you know, I was trying to also go to the NBA. And, you know, my background, when I got, you know, into St. John's, actually, I went to St. John's University, and my first major was architecture. You know, and I always wanted to do things creative and be an entrepreneur. And when I got drafted, I had the entrepreneur bug, but I didn't have the experience. I didn't have the support, you know, not even a know-how. And it was something that was missing out of me, not having that skill set. You know, so obviously you play your long NBA career, but the whole time you're thinking about, you know, if I did this right, or if I made this move, I wonder if I can get into consumer. I wonder if I can sell my own shoes and launch my own brand. But, you know, basketball, you know, took precedent over that.
And then kind of the rest is history, like after you retired, and then was it like a transition, or you already planned ahead about, okay, what I'm gonna be doing after retirement?
Yeah, well, you know, so initially I was only doing philanthropy, especially from 2007 when I launched my 501c3, all the way to 2012, or 2014. But I realized it was a little bit too much just only focusing on philanthropy, and I said, I gotta get into business. And I was asking myself, well, what am I gonna do? And I really got really interested in digital marketing. When I retired, I went back to UCLA, took some extension courses in coding, digital marketing, digital analytics, social media. In Vancouver, I did Google Analytics. In Concordia, Irvine, in Orange County, I did business analytics. I started to learn how to work the platforms, how to work AWS. I wanted to understand how could I operate, not necessarily always use somebody else. And I said, yeah, it might take me a little bit longer. And it took me, I'm 8 years in from retirement to right now. which gives me the ability to really understand how to launch products, different programming and different things like that.
Gotcha, gotcha. And then we also, saw the video at the beginning where you highlighted kind of your story with Alibaba.com, right? So can you share with us a little bit kind of how that partnership, came about and what kind of drew you to work with Alibaba.com?
Well, I remember when I was working at Alibaba, Alibaba has a really robust platform, and they have about 3 different direct messages if you ever was in Alibaba. And I just happened to run across the RFQs and all these different kind of security type of direct messaging. And I got a message, somebody said, "Is this the real Metta World piece?" And when I got that message, I'm like, wow, this is super interesting. Somebody asked me, I was just looking for sneakers, but I was actually using the product. And what I realized about Alibaba was it's going to make somebody's life like mine easier if I want to launch a pair of sneakers or a shoe company. Like, how am I going to do that as an athlete with no experience? But the fans, they want it, especially especially when you're hot. When you're in your prime, they'll buy anything. And I felt like I was missing out on that opportunity.
And I must say, you've been hot for 19 years, right?
Yeah.
Throughout your career.
And if you're not signed to like the bigger shoe companies,
right.
They have the marketing channels, they have the sales channel, they have the they understand. But if you're a player, you could be an all-star, but if you're not signed to one of the bigger companies, then you're just not going to sell shoes, and you're missing out on a huge opportunity.
Yeah. And then so essentially what you kind of described, right? So you have to kind of transition, right, from the basketball court to the boardroom, right? And so building a company with, and today you're building a company with a very diverse, ecosystem of partners. And Alibaba.com, is known for helping business scale, for connecting from the global opportunities. So how has, working with Alibaba.com helped you expand your business reach? And what advice would you give to entrepreneurs here looking to take advantage of that global marketplace like Alibaba.com?
Yeah, obviously Alibaba is available for anyone to use, but not everyone is using it. A lot of people that have the opportunities. So for us, for me, I want to make sure that I'm able to be a bridge, especially for the athletes and then also entrepreneurs. When I launched my company, it was for athletes, but we wound up having 35 companies that are non-athletes, which, it was really interesting how that worked out. But, it's still opportunities to educate people on how to use Alibaba, why you should use it. Obviously, it's the #1 kind of platform when it comes to sourcing and different things like that. So for me, I still want to partner with Alibaba because I think it's an opportunity to help athletes that want to launch their own brands, launch it more efficiently. And I think, and you see here, there's a lot of people here today, first time, and maybe in a setting like this, and saying, "Oh, I really got a lot out of this, conference." And I was asking around a little bit, and people said they got a lot out of the conference.
Right. Yeah. Isn't it amazing? I think this conference, be able to gather all of these amazing entrepreneurs.
A lot of entrepreneurs.
Yes. Yeah. I'm super pumped about that. And again, going back to basketball, right? Because you know this so well, success is all about teamwork. And then that's the case with business as well. So being an all-star, 19 years of NBA, and ultimately a world championship, right, with the Lakers. Any Lakers fan here in the house? All right. Now, with your own company, or I should say companies, right? You have a few companies. So you have also carried the team mentality, I'm sure, right? Because you got a lot of partners, you got a lot of folks that you work with the holding company that you have. So for the business owners here who are building and growing their own teams, what advice would you have for them that are kind of using that teamwork mindset, right, that be able to create success in business?
I think you got to prepare. You want to go through training camp, so to speak, together. Not like these days, players don't practice so they can't win games. Right. So go through some type of case study, some type of beta together, and really trust your team members, trust your teammates. Let them make their own decisions sometimes, and give some room for one of your members to make mistakes, right? And then correct them, support them, and then level up together. I think teamwork is all about trust. In basketball, if you make the extra pass, we want that. Well, you risk a missed shot by somebody you passed it to. But that shouldn't be the worry.
Right.
It should be because it was the right thing to do. It was the right thing to pass off. And I think it works the same way in business.
As we just saw in that video, if you guys saw that, right? That buzzer beater where Kobe Bryant trusted you.
Trusted. I
Shimmy
operated.
shake a little bit. Three-pointer.
It was
and
luck.
a kiss.
My eyes were closed. It was luck.
So that's more like a Jordan move,
It looked
right?
like I meant to do it. I actually was thinking about Alibaba.
Nice one, nice one. Great. So as a former NBA player, right, I think you are, at least my personal view, you are known for your relentless intensity, right, for winning the Defensive Player of the Year and your competitive edge, right? And then you've mentioned before how the late, great Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, Kobe, the Mamba mentality that influenced you, right? So can you share about how that mindset has shaped your approach to business today? Like this kind of this intensity, but how do you tap into those strengths, right? Could be strengths, all right, or could be weakness, right? As you kind of mentioned before. So kind of that versatility as a two-way player that you were in your role as an entrepreneur, right? And then as well as a business owner.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, I remember watching Kobe during his last seasons, and he was actually a little bit more just approachable on the bus because during the prime of his career, he was focused on winning championships. Mm-hmm. But towards the end, he started to like play with the rookies more, laugh a little bit, and I'm like, wow, that's a different Kobe. But he also was in the back of the bus a lot, or we sat across from each other, and he was always like working on business. Oh. And I was like, wow, what are you doing? He said, I'm working on stuff. Like,
so he won't share much. He's working on stuff.
Well, he did share some stuff. He shared the body armor deal. He actually offered that deal to me and Julius, and we were just playing around. And we were like, oh, wow, he 10x his money. Julius, we missed out. But he would share a little bit. And I remember when he retired, because we were super competitive, so we didn't really get lunch together. Mm-hmm. You know, we're a different breed. It's like we come to work, and that's it. Right? We communicate on the court. But I remember after he retired, I went to go visit him, and he had about 7 stacks of books that he was editing. It was called the Wizard Nod series. He actually put the books out. Wow. And I'm like, Kobe, you editing those books yourself? He said, yeah, I love these books. You know, and I'm really passionate about the project. And it just showed that he took his passion from the court to his books that he was writing.
Right.
And it really inspired me, and I would call him often. I would say, you know, I want to launch like a digital marketing company, which is my first kind of aspiration, right, which is still the center of my company right now. Mm-hmm. And as I was asking him for advice, something that hit me was apply the same passion that you put into sports. Mm-hmm. Now, you know, you can't really, if you're behind a laptop and you're launching a new business, and let's just say, you know, you hit a roadblock. Mm-hmm. Well, if I hit a roadblock in the game, I can hustle, I can dive on the floor. You know, when you're in front of a laptop, I can't just dive on a button and that's going to change the game. Yeah. You know, and that's the part where I had to understand, you know, you gotta still dig deep by like not sleeping some days. Right. You know, you gotta learn more. You gotta go get more case studies because this is all mental. Mm-hmm. It's all about what you're learning. How am I communicating with my future partners? So it was more a mental dig deep. And but one of the things that I can apply, I remember the days of working out and, you know, just my legs burning. And do you give up? You know, do you stop? Mm-hmm. So one thing I said, if I don't know something, don't stop. Continue to go get the information. And that's kind of how I made the comparison.
No, I think, you know, for all professional athletes, right, I think you guys kind of take to the next level, right, in terms of preparation, but that intensity and not stopping, as you mentioned, right, because, you know, that's why you guys are professional.
Absolutely.
Right. And then you also mentioned about your partners, your businesses. Talk to us a little about that, right? So could you give us a glimpse into your current business portfolio, right? I know you do a lot of investments. You also do a lot of partnerships, different type of business going on, right? So how do you navigate all those decisions on which venture that you want to invest in and who to partner with? And then additionally, just looking ahead, can you give us a sneak peek, right, in terms of how do you envision, right, your business ventures kind of continue to develop, right? And also as well, how do you envision Alibaba.com, right, could be able to contribute to that future success that you're building for the past few years?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, obviously when you're launching a business, you got to start somewhere. But with an athlete, it's difficult because during your career, you're playing basketball, you get home, you check your phone, there's an opportunity. Oh, there's another opportunity.
Yeah.
It's like, which one do I pick, right? So, you know, for me, I found out that, you know, I wanted to build an infrastructure to hold up all these opportunities. And initially, I didn't have a thesis. If you launch a company or if you're launching a fund, a venture capital fund, well, you're going to have a thesis. And one of the things that I was thinking about, even though I'm getting offered equity in companies, I still didn't have a thesis. Even though I'm not actually investing in companies, but I'm giving my time.
Right.
I got to give my time a thesis. And when I did that, things really changed for me. Because I was actually attracting businesses and partners and founders that made sense for what I wanted to do.
Right.
And there's a fine line between your passions and what the opportunity is, right? Because sometimes your passion is your plan A, but it's really your plan B that's going to work because it's just not the right time for whatever your passion is. So for me, it was selling sneakers. You see a lot of athletes getting into entertainment, but sometimes we don't put an analysis behind, you know, the reasoning or what we want to do. So I said, okay, I'll just start wherever the opportunities is. I'm gonna put a thesis around my time, right? And it's leading me, you know, 8 years later, it's leading me back to Alibaba, which is consumer opportunities, consumer logistics, consumer products. You know, so it took me a little bit longer to get here. And you're talking about 1999 when I first got drafted. I wanted to do my own shoes,
Right.
but I had no one to really help me on how to execute. So if one of my clients came to me and said, Metta, I want to launch a shoe brand. I'm gonna say, okay, I'm gonna get my team on the line. We're gonna come up with a strategy, maybe a funding strategy, a sales strategy, branding strategy. But in 1999, when I wanted to launch my own shoe, I just got told no. No, it's impossible. It's gonna cost $90,000 for the molds. I'm like, well, what about the solutions? If we could put a man on the moon, I'm just asking how I just want to launch a shoe brand. It can't be that complicated.
Right.
And it became very frustrating, right? Not to have, it was a mix of me not being around the right people. It was also a mix of people not really giving the extra effort because as a 19-year-old new player, you don't really understand how to put a team together,
Right.
even though you're thinking ahead. So sometimes as an athlete, you think because you're good on the court, that is going to translate to something else. It don't work like that all the time. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to take my time, learn whatever I want to get involved in and out. You know, learn it cold and then, you know, wait for the perfect time to launch a product. And now I'm sitting here, you know, actually understanding the platform and understanding the effect of influencers and athletes that we can put and pair with a brand, you know, to market that brand and how to tell a story. It took a little while, but you know, everything takes time.
Yeah, no, totally. I feel like that potentially could relate to a lot of entrepreneurs here, right? I think you don't know what you don't know, but I think what was amazing as you were sharing that, it's kind of how, in my opinion, kind of reinvented yourself. You mentioned, all right, you went back to school, right? You kind of learned everything from scratch, from start coding. Now you got to kind of, you know, X versus X sports. It's a Web3, right, sports platform that you're building. I don't know, I feel like for a lot of people, you know, be able to, from a professional basketball player or anyone, entrepreneurs are like jumping to Web3, like tech, hardcore tech business, right? It's not like an easy transition. So can you briefly talk about like what kind of motivate you or like what a struggle that you kind of went through, like to push yourself to, all right, I need to learn this because I need to, right, for me to kind of move on to the ultimate goal that I want to reach.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at technology, it affects everything. And when you look at where athletes affect the outcome of success, just look at the categories: logistics, insurance, publication, gaming. And you can look in the arenas and it'll tell you where the athletes affect the outcome of success. The banners are all the way around you. And when I found out that athletes are going to start receiving $100 million a year, $70 million a year, people would ask me, well, Metta, don't you wish you was playing in this era? I was like, no, I wish I was those companies on the jerseys. So 8 years ago, I was hustling information. I wanted to learn the administration side. I wanted to learn the sales and accounting side. I wanted to learn the contract side. Your company is as good as your contracts. The boring side, the logistics side. People say, why did you acquire, controlling shares of your logistics company? If I'm going to launch consumer products for athletes, you need logistics.
Right.
There's no way around it.
Right.
And on the public markets, I think logistics is written over the public markets when you look at most of the companies.
Right.
From Fashion Nova, I'm not sure if they're public, but Alibaba, Amazon, Nike, Fanatics, all these companies, NVIDIA, all these companies have logistics written all over it. You have to get it to the consumer. You have to get it to retail.
Right.
And for me, I said, I'm just going to jump in. And now it's really interesting because logistics affects a lot of my company from a positive perspective.
I'm sure for a lot of these entrepreneurs, right, that deal with products, logistics is natural, the thing that you have to work out and then deal with.
I didn't want to wait too long to get involved. That's why I just jumped into it. And my business, it's an ecosystem, mainly because if an athlete comes to us, I use an athlete as a persona, but it relates to entrepreneurs. Like I said, I launched my business for athletes, but we attracted a lot of non-athletes, which is like really interesting.
Right.
It was really flattering that I was able to help just non-athletes.
Right. No, absolutely. And then you also mentioned about consumer brands. You have your own consumer brand, Panda's Friends, right? As you can see, you got the Panda here, Panda, basically all the accessories and clothing line, right, that you have. Can you share a little bit kind of that process? Like, why did you choose almost like apparel brand, right, as a consumer brand to start with your business?
Yeah.
Right? And then what was that process? Because I know what you shared with me, like Alibaba.com was kind of how tied it together for your business.
Well, when I launched the Panda brand, I always wanted to do a brand. As you know, I said in 1999, I wanted to launch a shoe brand. I wanted to launch my own shoe brand. And then in 2014, my daughter had this, passion for pandas. And I'm like, oh, wow, maybe I can launch a panda brand and spend more time with my daughter and continue to get on her nerves, right? So I launched the Panda's Friend, right? And so initially I wanted it to be a logo, and I didn't want to spend too much time on the logo. So I said, you know what? This logo's good. The first kind of JPEG that we got back, I said, perfect, $50 for the logo.
$50. Yeah. You got the logo $50.
Yeah, $50.
I think that probably worth a couple million
Signed
now,
and
right?
sealed. And initially we wanted to launch a brand, so we actually had a little run, but I didn't have the right team to launch a brand. So we put the brand on pause for 6 years. We kept it running, kept the trademarks running, and then we turned it into a consumer holdings company because I found out that was my strength, and that's what I've been focusing on. So it didn't make sense for me to launch a brand while I got all these portfolio companies and founders that I'm talking to. So we said, let's try to get into consumer, but let it fit into our business model. So now we have multiple consumer products under the consumer holdings company.
Right.
So we changed the model a little bit, which we like better. It's a little easier.
Yeah, totally.
But it still looks good. We just don't sell products.
What do you guys think? What do you guys think about the Panda's Friend? All right, you got some love already. Yeah, so I think we cover a lot. Metta, thank you so much, right? I see for all the knowledge drops. So before we wrap up, we'd love to hear your knowledge drop. Like, what advice do you have for all the aspiring entrepreneurs out here, like looking to carve out their path and business, right? Inspired by your entrepreneur journey, and with Alibaba.com as part of that.
Yeah, definitely. I think I was so excited when you invited me here. I knew why I was coming, but I didn't quite know what everything was. So that's why I wanted to come out, and as I asked questions to everybody, and somebody was here for sourcing for landscape, and I said, okay, I get it. This is the sourcing thing, and everybody's here trying to build their business. I understand. But I think, as an entrepreneur, if you have the luxury to focus on one thing, like take advantage of it. Obviously, you want to have a plan B. You know, my strategy is a little bit different, mostly because I get so much opportunity. It's really hard to just like focus on one thing. So I became a venture capital holdings company, and I'm happy doing that. But I think like as an entrepreneur, if you're launching your own business, you know, try not to put too much on your plate. You know, I heard a term that said dig deep rather than go wide all the time. You know, so dig deep, you know, build the infrastructure for partnerships, infrastructure for sales or whatever your business is. Understand it, launch your case studies, launch your betas if you can. You know, learn about your product, learn about your business, and then go live whenever you can. Work in abundance. I think sometimes the personality traits can have you working in scarcity. I know I grew up like that. And we only get one plate of rice, and I'm not sharing because I don't know when that next plate of rice is coming.
Right.
You know, so but that doesn't translate to business. Collaboration translates to business, and that was also something that took a while for me to understand. But I would say, you know, work in abundance. Bring your, you know, family along for the ride if you can. You know, you're in business, you got an opportunity to teach your family something, which is really interesting. So it's like so many different positives from launching a business.
Right, absolutely. No, I appreciate that, Metta. I think that knowledge, I think, is really applicable, right, to our stages, all aspects of a business. So, sorry, I got a final question, and then this is like completely off script, but I gotta ask for all the basketball junkies out there. Can you name your all-time starting 5 NBA players?
All-time starting 5? Let me see, Metta World Peace. No. Yeah, I'm sorry. You always gotta put yourself first.
Yeah. I'm putting you on the spot right there. Yeah. And it's live streamed by, you know, watched by 5 million viewers.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool, man. 5 million viewers, live stream, YouTube.
Across all social media channels.
Across all social media.
All channels, right.
Well, I'm gonna say I'm going with Wilt Chamberlain.
Wilt, okay.
Wilt Chamberlain is incredible. I don't know how people don't put him in the category of one of the GOATs, but Wilt.
100 points.
100 points.
I think no one can ever cross that, I guess.
Average 50. That's incredible. Michael Jordan. Let's just get him out the way.
Yeah.
Bill Russell. People forget about Bill, but he's won 11 championships. That's not easy. That's a lot of championships.
Like, there are players that probably never play 11 seasons in the NBA, right?
Absolutely.
And they're winning 11 championships.
So I got those 3, and now I'm under pressure to pick 2.
Yes, the final 2.
This is the worst. I hate being in this situation. But I say, oh boy.
How about players that you play with? Like,
I'm gonna go with Kobe.
Okay, Kobe, all right. Do we have Kobe fans here? All right.
And I'm gonna go with Stephen Curry.
Yeah, all right. We got some Steph fans here. Awesome.
And I'm gonna get killed on social media after this.
So let's leave that, right, to spark some live debates here, offline and online. But Metta, thank you so much again. And all of you guests here who joined us on CoCreate. I just hope that, you know, this sharing that Metta just gave, there were some takeaways for all of you. And thank you again, and then enjoy the rest of CoCreate, and stick around because our next panel session was gonna be on AI here on the stage, and I will be featuring some brilliant minds that I'm personally very excited about. So stick around, and then let's get ready for the next session. And thank you again, Metta. Let's give it up.
Thank you. Do you think I can get a picture with my team up here?
Of course.
Hey, Nectar, come up here. We can get a picture because this is a great opportunity. If my team members can come up here, we'll take a picture. Frank.
You wanna take a selfie with the
We'll take a selfie.
With our
Eric,
audience
Allison,
here.
Nectar, Sydney, if she's still around. Let's take a picture before they kick us out of here.
We got 1 minute.
1 minute.
Clock is ticking.
All right, awesome. Jay Corn, Emily, come up here.
I got someone here. a fan of yours. You have a camera? This camera. We'll be quick, crowd.